The night was calm. Stars shined above like tiny candles, spread across the endless sky. On Earth, people lived their usual lives. Children played in the streets, families sat together in their homes, and workers hurried through the busy cities. To them, nothing felt unusual. The sky looked the same as it had always looked. But something strange was happening, something hidden, something dangerous. Far above the clouds, beyond the reach of normal human eyes, a silent shadow moved. It was not a bird, not an airplane, not even a satellite. It was something else, something unknown. In the International Space Station, a group of astronauts watched their monitors carefully. At first, they thought it was a small error on the screen. A dot appeared, then disappeared. Then it returned, brighter this time. The astronauts exchanged worried looks. One of them whispered, "It's moving, but it's not one of ours." For weeks, scientists have been tracking strange signals from deep space. The signals were not natural. They were not from stars or planets. They carried a pattern, a rhythm, almost like a heartbeat. The scientists sent reports to the higher authorities. But instead of warning the public, the reports were locked away. Governments decided to stay silent. They believed people were not ready for the truth. And so, the world slept peacefully, not knowing that a storm was approaching. One night, in a small town, a boy named Ethan sat on the roof of his house. He loved watching the stars. His father had told him long ago, "The stars are stories written in the sky. Every star has a secret." Ethan smiled, remembering those words. But this night was different. As he gazed at the sky, he saw a flash of light, quick, sharp, and strange. It was not like a falling star. It did not fade. It moved with purpose, like it was alive. Ethan's heart beat faster. "What was that?" he whispered. He tried to call his father, but when they looked together, the light was gone. His father laughed gently, saying it was probably just a satellite. But deep inside, Ethan knew it was not. Far away, in hidden military bases, alarms were already ringing. The object Ethan saw was not just a light. It was a vessel, a ship enormous in size, but silent in its movement. It traveled to the edge of Earth's orbit, watching, waiting. The people of Earth still did not know. They continued their lives. Weddings, birthdays, laughter, and dreams filled the world. But behind that joy, an invisible fear began to grow among those who knew the secret. Scientists whispered in their labs. Generals argued in their war rooms. Leaders debated in dark meetings. "Should we tell the people?" one voice asked. "No," another replied. "They will panic. Let them live in peace, for now." But peace was already slipping away. In the deserts of Arizona, radio telescopes picked up another strange sound. It was not just a signal this time. It was a voice. Broken, unclear, but human-like. It repeated one line again and again. "They are coming. They are coming." The scientists who heard it froze in fear. The voice did not belong to any human on Earth. Its origin came from far beyond the solar system. At the same time, in a secret underground lab, a young officer named Liam was reading files he was not supposed to see. The files spoke of contact, of messages intercepted years ago, of warnings ignored. His hands trembled as he turned the pages. Words like war, threat, and invasion were written in bold letters. Liam's eyes widened as he read the last line of the file. Humanity is not ready for what is coming. Meanwhile, the skies remained silent. No one could hear the giant engines of the hidden ships. No one could see the armies preparing in the cold darkness of space. The world kept moving, unaware of the danger, unaware of the truth. But the silence was not peace. It was a silence before the storm. Ethan, lying awake in his small town, could not stop thinking about the strange light. He felt it in his heart. Something was about to change. Something bigger than anything humanity had ever known. And high above, far beyond Earth's sight, the watchers waited. The war had already begun. Humans just did not know it yet. Far away from Earth, in the dark corners of the galaxy, a storm was forming. It was not a natural storm of winds or fire. It was a storm of war, quiet, invisible, and patient. In a star system humans had never seen, alien ships floated like silent predators. They were massive, dark, and endless in number. Their designs were sharp, built for battle, not peace. The stars around them looked small compared to their size. Inside one of the largest ships, alien leaders gathered. Their voices echoed in a strange, metallic language. To human ears, it would sound like broken thunder. But their meaning was clear. Earth had been chosen. Earth was the next target. One alien commander stepped forward. His eyes glowed a cold silver. He raised his hand and pointed to a glowing image, a map of the galaxy. In the center of that map was Earth. This planet, he growled, is a key to victory. The humans do not know their value. They carry the blood of the ancients, and with that blood, we will unlock the weapon. A murmur spread across the hall. For them, humans were not just another species. They were something more, something dangerous, something they feared but also desired. Back on Earth, the whispers had already started. In government offices, in hidden military rooms, in secret labs, people argued about what to do. Some wanted to prepare for war. Others wanted silence, afraid that the truth would cause chaos. One man, Officer Liam, sat quietly in a dark office. His hands rested on a file stamped top secret. He read the words again and again. Human DNA connected to ancient technology. Possible galactic weapon. Liam's heart raced. He felt cold. Was it possible that humans were not just ordinary beings? Was Earth carrying a secret older than time itself? At that same moment, signals reached Earth again. Radio telescopes in South America caught fragments of a strange message. Scientists worked day and night, trying to decode it. Finally, after long hours, one sentence became clear. Protect the humans, or all will fall. The scientists froze. Who sent this warning? Was it a friend? Or was it a trap? The truth was unclear. But one thing was certain. Earth was no longer alone. In small villages and big cities, people noticed unusual things. Lights in the sky, strange blackouts, static noises in radios, airplanes reporting mysterious shadows near the edge of the atmosphere. The world tried to ignore it, but whispers spread quickly. Something was coming. Ethan, the boy who loved watching stars, also felt the whispers in his heart. He couldn't explain why, but the night sky felt different. He would sit on his rooftop, staring at the heavens, feeling as if someone, or something, was staring back at him. Meanwhile, in the alien fleet, the leaders grew impatient. One of them slammed his hand on the table, shaking the room. "Humans are weak," he said. "They fight among themselves. They do not even know who they are. They will not resist us." But the silver-eyed commander disagreed. His voice was low but filled with warning. "Never underestimate them. The ancients live within them. If they awaken, they will destroy us all." Silence filled the hall. The fear was real, even among these powerful beings. On Earth, Liam couldn't sleep. His mind was full of questions. Who were the ancients? Why was human DNA so important? And why did the aliens want them so badly? In the early hours of the morning, he stood by his window, looking at the city lights. People walked below, laughing, living their normal lives. They did not know the danger above their heads. Liam whispered to himself, "How can I protect them if they don't even know the truth?" At that same time, far across the galaxy, the alien ships prepared for movement. Engines roared silently, and weapons charged. Their eyes were on Earth, and their whispers turned into a promise. "We are coming." The humans did not hear it, but the universe did. The stars trembled. The galaxies held their breath. The balance of everything was about to change. And in the middle of it all, Earth remained unaware. Children dreamed of tomorrow. Lovers promised forever. Soldiers trained for battles they did not understand. Farmers worked on fields. Singers sang songs, and families prayed for peace. But peace was already breaking. The whispers of war were no longer whispers. They were becoming a voice that would soon rule. The question was not if the war would come. The question was when. The world still lived in silence, unaware of the danger moving closer every day. But not everyone was blind. Deep underground, in a hidden military base, Officer Liam stood inside a cold room filled with dusty files and glowing screens. His hands shook as he turned the pages of a report marked Classified, Level 7. Each line he read felt heavier than the last. The files spoke of research carried out for decades. They spoke of discoveries buried beneath deserts, oceans, and mountains. Artifacts too advanced to belong to humans, yet somehow linked to them. One sentence caught Liam's eyes. Human DNA is not ordinary. It is connected to the ancients, the first race of the galaxy. Liam froze. His mind spun. Could it be true? Were humans not just a young species struggling for survival? Were they carriers of something far older, something greater? The report continued. Long ago, the ancients had ruled the stars. They were powerful, wise, and feared. But they vanished in a great war, leaving behind only fragments of their existence. Those fragments, the files explained, lived inside humans. The DNA of every man, woman, and child carried a code that could unlock a weapon capable of changing the fate of the galaxy. Liam stepped back, his breath heavy. This means we are not just targets, he whispered to himself. We are the key. While Liam wrestled with this truth, the aliens watched from the shadows of space. Their leader, the silver-eyed commander, spoke again to his council. His voice was cold but filled with urgency. The humans carry the blood of our greatest enemy. We cannot allow them to awaken. If their DNA is activated, the ancient weapon will rise again. And when it rises, it will destroy us all. The aliens nodded in silence. Their fear was real. To them, humans were not weak anymore. They were dangerous, even if they did not yet know it. Back on Earth, in a quiet university, a scientist named Dr. Ilara studied strange symbols carved into a stone tablet discovered in South America. For years, people thought the carvings were nothing but old art, but Ilara knew better. She compared the symbols with the new signals from space. Her eyes widened. They matched. She whispered softly, "This is not human writing, but it was left for humans." In the carvings, one symbol stood out. It looked like a star, but broken into two pieces. Underneath it, the translation read, "The chosen ones will awaken. Their blood is the key." Ilara felt chills. She knew she had to warn someone. Without wasting a moment, she sent a secure message to the government. But in the shadows, someone else was already watching her. That night, Liam was ordered to meet Ilara. When he entered her office, he noticed a fear in her eyes. She pushed the stone tablet toward him and explained what she had found. "Liam, they left this for us. The ancients wanted us to know who we are. But if the aliens reach Earth first, they will use us or destroy us." Liam listened, torn between duty and fear. Every word she spoke felt like fire in his chest. Humans were not just random beings in the galaxy. They were heirs to something far greater. But that truth also made them a target. Outside, the world continued as normal. Children still played, couples still laughed, and life moved forward. But above, the alien fleet grew closer. The whispers of war now echoed through space like a drumbeat. Meanwhile, Ethan, the boy who loved the stars, kept looking at the sky each night. He saw the strange lights again, moving slowly, carefully, as if they were watching Earth. He told his friends, but they laughed. "It's just airplanes," they said. But Ethan knew it was not. Deep inside, he felt connected to it, as if the stars were calling to him. Back in the military base, Liam closed the file and stared at Ilara. His voice was low but steady. "If this is true, then we must prepare. Humans are not ready for this. But we don't have a choice. The war is coming." Ilara nodded, her eyes full of both fear and determination. "We must protect the secret, because if the aliens get it first, Earth will fall." Above them, in the silent cold of space, the alien commander looked at the blue planet through his ship's window. His silver eyes narrowed. "Soon," he whispered, "the humans will learn who they are. And when they do, it will already be too late." The stage was set. The secret of humanity was no longer hidden. It was awake, alive, and burning in the hearts of those who discovered it. The war was not just about Earth anymore. It was about the survival of the galaxy. And the humans were the key. The days passed quietly on Earth, but the silence was only on the surface. In truth, the shadow of war was already closing in. High above the planet, beyond the blue skies, alien ships drifted closer to the moon. Their black shapes blended with the darkness of space, unseen by ordinary eyes. But their presence was growing stronger every day. In a secret monitoring station, alarms rang late into the night. Screens lit up with strange images, massive objects moving in the dark. Military officers whispered nervously. Some wanted to raise the alarm. Others demanded silence. Finally, the decision came from above: do not tell the people. The truth was hidden again. Meanwhile, Liam and Dr. Alara sat in the underground base, surrounded by files, artifacts, and strange symbols. The more they studied, the more the puzzle became clear. The carvings Alara had found matched old stories from forgotten tribes across the earth. Ancient paintings showed tall beings with glowing eyes, handing knowledge to early humans. The ancients, Alara explained, were here once. They gave humans a gift, the gift that now lives in our DNA. Liam frowned. And that's why the aliens fear us. Alara nodded slowly. They don't just fear us, Liam. They want to erase us before we discover the truth, before we unlock what's inside us. While Liam tried to understand these words, something unusual happened outside. Across several countries, people began reporting strange sightings. Pilots saw black shapes flying near the edge of Earth's atmosphere. Fishermen had seen noticed glowing shadows under the water. And in one quiet city, lights flickered as if something massive was passing overhead. The whispers of war were no longer whispers. They were shadows pressing against Earth itself. Ethan, the boy who loved watching stars, noticed a change too. That night, when he climbed onto his roof, he saw not one but 3 strange lights moving together across the sky. They didn't fall like meteors, and they didn't blink like airplanes. They moved slowly, carefully, like hunters. His chest tightened. He felt a chill run through his body. "They are here," he whispered to himself. Far away, inside the alien flagship, the silver-eyed commander stood before his council once more. A large screen showed Earth, glowing blue and green. His voice was sharp. "The humans are beginning to sense us. We must act soon. But we cannot underestimate them. The ancient blood flows inside them. If they awaken, it will be the end of us." One of the younger commanders slammed his hand on the table. "They are weak. They don't even know who they are. Why do we wait?" The silver-eyed commander's eyes glowed brighter. Because the most dangerous enemy is the one who does not yet know his own power. When the humans awaken, they will not fight for one planet. They will fight for the galaxy. That is why we must strike carefully. Back on Earth, Liam and Alara discovered something even more shocking. Hidden inside the files was evidence of an old battle, not in space, but on Earth itself. Thousands of years ago, before history was written, the ancients had fought the same enemies now approaching. Their war left scars on the Earth, deserts where cities once stood, oceans that swallowed lands, mountains broken in half. Humans had always thought these were natural events. But the truth was different. "This has happened before," Alara whispered, her voice trembling. "And now it will happen again." Liam clenched his fists. He wanted to scream, to tell the world what he knew. But he couldn't. If the truth came out too soon, it would only cause panic. And yet, keeping the secret felt like betrayal. He stood in silence, torn between duty and fear. Meanwhile, governments continued to deny everything. They released news stories about satellites, weather balloons, and natural lights in the sky. But not everyone believed them anymore. Ordinary people began to share videos of strange lights online. The whispers grew louder. The fear spread quietly. In the middle of this chaos, Ethan's father noticed his son's fear. "You've been watching the sky every night," he said gently. "What are you looking for?" Ethan hesitated, then replied in a soft voice, "I don't think we're alone anymore." His father smiled weakly, trying to hide his own worry. "Maybe you're right." High above, the alien fleet shifted closer, hiding in the shadow of the moon. Their weapons glowed faintly, ready for war. The silver-eyed commander looked down at Earth one last time before giving the order. "Begin the infiltration. Let the humans feel the shadows before they see the storm." And so it began. Small ships separated from the massive fleet, moving quietly toward Earth. They were invisible to human eyes, silent in their descent. Like predators in the night, they slipped through the sky, heading straight for the planet. On Earth, people continued their normal lives, not knowing that strangers were already walking among them. The shadows had arrived. The stadium was still buzzing after the fall of the beast. Millions of alien voices echoed through the endless towers. Some shouted in anger, others in awe, but one truth could not be denied. The humans had survived. The chosen four, Aryan, David, Aisha, and Rayhan, were led back to their quarters. The glowing chains on their wrists loosened slightly, as if acknowledging their victory. But instead of celebration, silence filled the room. Aryan sat on the cold floor, hugging his knees. His small body still trembled from the battle. His voice was barely a whisper. "I thought I was going to die up there." David knelt beside him, his soldier's eyes softening for the first time. "But you didn't. You were brave. Kid, you saved us." Aryan looked up, surprised at the praise. David gave a small nod, but his expression quickly hardened. "Don't forget, this was only the first round. Next time, it will be worse." Aisha paced the room, her mind racing. "We're being tested, but not just for strength. They want to see something else. Courage, sacrifice, maybe even hope." Rayhan sat in the shadows, silent as always, his face unreadable, his eyes fixed on the glowing chains. After a long pause, he muttered, "Hope won't save us. Not here." Before anyone could answer, the lights in their quarters flickered. The air grew heavy, and the walls shimmered as if they were alive. Suddenly, the armored figure appeared again, but this time its voice was softer, more dangerous. "Humans, you impress a crowd. But know this, many do not want you here. They believe your species is too young, too weak, too dangerous." Aisha stepped forward, her voice firm despite her fear. "Then why choose us at all?" The figure tilted its head. "Because the games are not only about survival. They are about balance. And balance requires enemies, even in the shadows." The lights went dark. When they returned, the figure was gone. Aryan shivered. What did that mean? David's jaw tightened. "It means someone planning to make sure we don't win." That night, while the humans tried to rest, the betrayal began. From the hidden corridors of the arena, alien assassins crept forward. They were small, agile creatures with skin like silver blades. Their eyes glowed green, and their bodies melted into the shadows. They carried no weapons. Their hands were sharp enough to slice stone. Inside the human quarters, the lights flickered again. Aryan stirred from his restless sleep, his young ears catching a faint hiss. His eyes opened, and his heart nearly stopped. A shadow moved across the wall, too fast, too silent. "David!" Aryan screamed. The soldier snapped awake just as the first assassin lunged. With reflexes born from war, David grabbed Aryan and rolled away, the creature's claws slicing to the bed where the boy had been lying. Aisha shouted, grabbing a broken piece of metal from the floor. Rayhan rose slowly, his face calm even as the assassins filled the room. The fight was chaos. David tackled one assassin, his fists pounding against its sharp body until his knuckles bled. The creature hissed, cutting his arm open with a single swipe. Blood splattered, but David refused to fall. Aisha used her sharp mind, throwing spark from a broken wire to blind another assassin. Its green eyes flickered, giving her just enough time to stab it with the metal shard. It shrieked and dissolved into smoke. Aryan hid in the corner, frozen with fear, but when he saw another assassin creeping toward Aisha, something inside him snapped. He grabbed a heavy pipe from the floor and swung with all his strength. The assassin screamed, collapsing into the shadows. Aryan's hand shook violently, but his eyes burned with something new, anger. Rayhan moved differently. He did not shout, did not rush. He stepped calmly, grabbing one assassin's arm and twisting until it snapped like glass. His face remained expressionless, as if killing was nothing more than breathing. The others stared at him, shocked by his cold precision. Finally, the last assassin hissed and retreated into the shadows. The room fell silent, broken only by the sound of heavy breathing and dripping blood. David pressed his bleeding arm, his face pale but steady. "They sent killers," he growled. "Not for a game, not for training, for murder." Aisha wiped sweat from her forehead. "So it's true. They don't want us to win. Someone out there is plotting against us. Aryan's small voice shook. Then, even if we win the games, they'll still try to kill us. Rayhan's eyes were dark, his voice low. Yes, because they fear what happens if humans survive. The glowing chains on their wrists pulsed faintly, as if listening. The humans sat together, blooded and shaken, realizing the cruel truth. The games were not their only enemy. There were forces in the shadows working to destroy them before they ever reached the final round. For the first time, the team truly understood the weight on their shoulders. This was not just survival. It was war. And in war, betrayal could strike at any moment. Days turned into weeks inside the galactic arena. The chosen humans fought battle after battle, each one more brutal than the last. They faced firestorms, endless darkness, and creatures born from nightmares. They bled. They cried, but they refused to fall. And then, one night, the sky above the arena split open. The golden circle glowed brighter than ever before. Millions of alien eyes turned to the heavens as the armored figure appeared, its voice booming across the galaxy. Humans, you have survived more than expected. You have endured pain, betrayal, and fear. Now comes the final game, the maze of eternity. The crowd erupted in thunderous cheers. The words alone filled the humans with dread. A floor opened beneath them, and the four were dropped into darkness once again. But this time, when the light returned, they found themselves standing at the entrance of a colossal labyrinth. Its walls stretched higher than mountains, glowing faintly with shifting patterns. The air was thick, heavy, alive with danger. Aryan stared at the endless walls, his young face pale. A maze? How do we get out? Aisha's eyes darted across the patterns. This isn't just a maze. It's alive. It changes. David clenched his fists. Then we keep moving. No matter what happens, we move. Rayhan's voice was low, calm, almost cold. The maze will test more than our strength. It will test who we are. The chains on their wrists glowed, pulling them forward. The gate behind them slammed shut with a deafening boom. There was no way back. They began to walk. The first corridor twisted with illusions. Aryan gasped as the walls turned into visions of his family. He saw his mother crying, his sister calling his name. His small body shook, his heart breaking. "They're here. I have to go," he shouted, running forward. David grabbed him, holding him back. "It's not real. Listen to me. It's not real." Aryan struggled, tears streaming down his face, but finally he stopped, trembling. The vision melted into stone again. The maze whispered cruelly, feeding on their fears. Further ahead, the ground shook and the path split into three. Aisha stepped forward, her sharp mind racing. She studied the glowing walls, the shifting patterns. "The left path is death," she whispered. "The right is a trap. The center, it's the only way." David trusted her instinct. "Then center it is." They moved together, but the maze was merciless. Creatures crawled from the walls, made of shadow and fire. The humans fought with everything they had, stones, shards, their bare hands. David's fist broke bones. Aisha's quick thinking saved them from traps. Aryan moved fast and distracted enemies, while Rayhan fought with terrifying silence. But the maze demanded more than blood. At one turn, a deep chasm split the path. A bridge of crumbling stone hung above it. They had no choice but to cross. Aryan slipped halfway, his small hands clinging desperately to the edge. "Help!" he cried. David dropped his weapon and grabbed the boy's wrist, pulling with all his strength. His muscles shook, sweat pouring down his face. "Hold on, kid. Don't you dare let go." Aisha and Rayhan grabbed David, pulling together. With one final effort, Aryan was pulled back to safety. The boy collapsed, sobbing. David ruffled his hair, his voice rough but kind. "No more falling. You hear me? No more." Hours passed. Wounds opened. Bodies weakened. Still, they pressed on. Finally, they reached the heart of the maze. A massive gate stood before them, glowing like the sun. But as they approached, the chains on their wrists tightened painfully. The armored figure's voice thundered from the heavens. "Only one may pass. Only one." The four humans stood before the blazing gate, their chains burning against their skin. The golden light blinded their eyes, yet they could not look away. From the heavens, the armored figure's voice thundered. Only one of you may pass. Only one may claim victory for your species. The rest must fall. The crowd roared, millions of voices demanding blood. Aryan froze, his young body trembling. His small voice broke the silence. Only one. But we fought together. We survived together. Aisha's heart sank. She had feared this moment from the beginning. The games were never about unity. They were about sacrifice. They want us to destroy each other, she whispered. David's fists clenched, his soldier's instinct screaming to protect, to fight, but his soul torn apart. He looked at the boy, then at Aisha, then at Rayhan, who stood cold and silent, his eyes unreadable. The chains glowed brighter, forcing them forward. The armored figure spoke again. Choose, or the maze will choose for you. A rumble shook the ground. The walls of the labyrinth began to collapse, fire spilling through the cracks. Time was running out. Aisha's mind raced. If we fight each other, humanity loses. But if one of us sacrifices willingly... David cut her off, his voice rough. No, we've come this far together. There has to be another way. Rayhan finally spoke, his tone calm, almost cold. There is no other way. The games were designed to break us, to see if humans will kill their own for survival. He stepped closer to the gate, his face lit by its glow. And maybe that's a real test. Aryan's eyes filled with tears. But I don't want any of us to die. David knelt before him, gripping his shoulders. Listen, kid, you are the future. You carry hope. That's something soldiers like me lost a long time ago. His voice cracked, the strong mask slipping for the first time. If one of us has to make it, it should be you. Aryan shook his head violently. No, I can't. I'm not strong like you. Aisha knelt beside them, her own eyes wet. You are stronger than you think. Stronger than any of us, because you still believe. The ground rumbled louder, fire spreading faster. The gate began to close slowly, its golden light shrinking. David stood tall, his decision burning in his heart. Then it settled. He turned to Aisha and Rayhan. We make sure the kid gets through. For the first time, Aisha nodded without argument. Her brilliant mind knew the truth. Humanity's survival needed hope, not just strength. But Rayhan's eyes narrowed. His voice was sharp. You think I'll just step aside? That I'll watch a child win while I die here? His tone was colder than ever. David glared back. If you want to fight, you will have to kill me first. The two men stared at each other, the fire reflecting in their eyes. The crowd screamed with excitement, waiting for blood. And then, something unexpected happened. Rayhan lowered his head. When he spoke again, his voice was softer, almost human. I've killed all my life. I thought I had nothing left inside me. But watching this boy, he paused, his throat tightening. Maybe this is my chance to give something back. Before anyone could stop him, Rayhan grabbed Aryan by the shoulders and pushed him toward the gate. The chains around his wrists flared painfully as he forced the boy forward. Aryan cried out, struggling. No, don't leave me. Rayhan smiled faintly, the first and last smile they had ever seen on his face. Live. That's an order. The gate pulled Aryan in, swallowing him in golden light. The moment his small figure vanished, the chains on the others turned black, burning their skin. The ground beneath them shattered. David and Aisha fell into the fire together, their screams echoing through the maze. Rayhan closed his eyes, embracing the flames like an old friend. And then, silence. High above, the stadium roared with shock and awe. The games had ended. The armored figure appeared again, its voice spreading across the galaxy. Humanity has chosen. A child of hope survives. Remember this day, for your world is now part of the eternal accord. Aryan awoke on Earth, his body weak, his mind heavy with memories of the games. Around him, people cried with joy, reaching for him, their survivor, their champion. But Aryan did not smile. His heart was heavy with loss. He had won, but at a cost too great to carry. As the sky above Earth shimmered with the golden mark of the Accord, Orion whispered to himself, "I will not waste their sacrifice. I will make them proud." The story of the Galactic Games had ended, but the story of humanity's future had just begun.